Hey everybody, in this video we're going to go over two things. One is we're going to look at how to add a simple log message uh, to output a log message to Logcat, to the Android logger here. Secondly, we're going to use those log messages to track different activities that are occurring throughout our app activities lifecycle. So if we look at this app, we've got a simple app with one activity, main activity, and inside of there it's already got a method following the activity lifecycle called onCreate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom of that onCreate method and I'm going to say log to grab Android's log class and D. And you can see that there are different methods V, D, I, W, E, F, and S. And that's going to determine the level of the log message. So D stands for debug. It's a very low priority message. And as we climb up, we can go to I for info, W for warning, E for error, F for fatal, and S for silent. And S is really never printed. So, okay, so here's the arguments in our log method, debug method. And the first is the filter that's going to apply. So I'll just plug in maybe my filter. And the second argument is the actual output message that's going to be logged. So let's, in here, just type in onCreate method called. So what this is going to allow us to do is just play around with the app a little bit and see how different events, things that we do to the activity, what events are, what activity lifecycle events methods are called. So what I'll do is I'll add another one. So we can just say override, and if you've looked at the different types of activities that are a part of the Android activity lifecycle, you know that onStart is another event that happens whenever an activity becomes visible. So I'll just say in here log.d, and actually I'll just copy this. And in the message we'll say onStart method called. And also remember whenever we override, we need to call the super method. So now we have two messages that will be output whenever we either create the activity for the first time or whenever we make the activity visible. So let's go ahead and save this and start it. So now it's going to be deployed to our AVD. So here we see the activities has been displayed. My application says hello world. And we've got a bunch of messages in our logger here. So let's take a look at it. If we scroll through it, you'll see there's all kinds of different output messages. There's warning messages, there's info messages, and along with that, there's also filters. So we can see the choreographer, OpenGL renderer has output some messages here. And also buried in there is a debug message with the filter myFilter, and that's what we specified, myFilter. And you can see onCreate method called, onStart method called, because both of those events happen when we're creating and starting up our application and displaying that activity for the first time. Something nice that you can do is we have all these messages, but there's a way to filter the messages. So if you type in the filter that you created, Android Studio will filter the Android Logcat messages here, so that you only see the messages that you created. We can also clear the log, so you can see a button with looks like a trash can over here. Click it to clear the log. And back in our app, let's try to display some more messages. So we'll say maybe close the app, go back to the home screen here, and then reopen it, and we'll see on start was called. Now on create wasn't called because the activity had already been created. We were just opening it up a second time. We could do the same with on pause. So we know that on pause, when an activity is not in the foreground, may become partially visible, such as when it's covered by a dialogue. So let's go ahead and override on pause. Oh, I did it too many times. Start. Again, we'll deploy this to our ABD. And you can see as soon as it ran, it called on create and on start. I'm going to rotate the device, and you can see that on pause is called, and then on create and on start again. Because what it's doing is actually repainting the screen, right? So it's going to pause it, then it's going to recreate it, and then restart it. So just a quick example to show you, one, how to add some log output. And secondly, I guess, well, along those lines, how to filter the log messages and clear the log messages. So start to use this log output a little bit to see what's happening in your app. And then we use that to track when the events are occurring. Thanks.